Artur Beterbiev is 20-0 with 20 knockouts with an emphatic 7th-round stoppage of Callum Smith. I'm Paulie Malignaggi. This is Paulie TV. Another impressive win for Artur Beterbiev. Every time we think maybe he's going to start sliding, maybe he's going to start, showing his age, like we were starting to think in the Anthony Yarde fight, a fight which he still clearly won, obviously, with a stoppage. He comes back and he does something like this. We were thinking, including myself, wondering if, maybe has he slowed down? Has his age catching up to him? With Yarde being able to tag him and give him some trouble in some small spots, you'd wonder if a more quality fighter like Callum Smith could get his attention and hurt him more or even beat him, I didn't expect it, but I didn't also think it was going to be this easy. He continues to make it look easy. You think about like what he did to Joe Smith. That one was only 2 rounds. But again, a guy who you think is maybe a big threat, a guy who you think, his punching power could get Beterbiev's attention. Nothing. And with Callum Smith, it was the same thing. Smith boxed in spots, decent spots. He had a little circling right hand that he kept throwing that was successful in spots, but he was never able to consistently keep Beterbiev off of him. And as Callum Smith himself said after the fight, he said, even though touching shots from Beterbiev, they're heavier than touching shots from a regular guy. He just keeps you constantly uncomfortable. And that's the thing with Beterbiev. He keeps you constantly uncomfortable from a physical perspective and from a mental perspective. He's in your face. He's got a good sense of positioning, very good technical boxer. This guy flies on the radar in the pound-for-pound conversation. But, bro, this guy's got, like, legitimate pound-for-pound entry, an argument for it. Let's see. He beat Gvozdyk, who had unseated Adonis Stevenson. And Adonis Stevenson had been a champion for about 7 years, a dominant champion, a big punching champion. I always felt Adonis was a bit of a one-trick pony, but man, that one trick was so difficult that nobody could beat him, and he lasted a long time. He was a very, very good champion. So Gvozdyk having kind of solved that puzzle, you think, he knows how to deal with punchers. But then he fights Beterbiev in a unification showdown. And Beterbiev is a bit more than just a big puncher that Adonis Stevenson was. He's also very, very good, fundamentally sound technically. And will use that to his advantage. And eventually it broke down Gvozdyk, who was ahead in the fight against Beterbiev before Beterbiev stopped him, from what I've heard. I was at that fight. I felt he was ahead anyway. You got this win over Callum Smith. You got wins over Joe Smith, who, Joe Smith himself had been a pretty good champion. Other wins that are not coming to mind right now, but this is not an easy schedule Beterbiev has had, and he's continued to dominate this schedule. Only 20 pro fights, all 20 wins by knockouts, and he's got a strength of schedule that's pretty difficult to match, overall, and especially the way he's got these wins. I mean, he's mowing through guys like a hot knife through butter, in reality. Callum Johnson dropped him. But again, look what happened after Callum Johnson dropped him. You can't even really get in this guy's head, even when you do get his attention, even when you do hurt him. He's in your head constantly, And that's the problem with fighting a guy like Beterbiev. He's also he's not only physically stronger than you, a lot of times he's going to be mentally stronger than you as well. This kind of sets up the fight with Dmitry Bivol, who, again, stylistically, from a technical point of view, could be problems for Beterbiev. Beterbiev is a little bit slower-footed, but Bivol has that quick, explosive step on his feet, and he uses it to explode offensively. He's not a defensive fighter by any means. The Bivol has good technique, but he's an attacking-minded fighter. So I could see this fight being a really, really good fight if they end up making it. I think that's sort of the fight you got to make now at this point for the undisputed light heavyweight title. I think a win there, especially for Beterbiev, and it's a tall task. I think a lot of people think Bivol wins that fight. I'm kind of unsure still myself, But if Beterbiev is able to fight Bivol and then beat Bivol too, now you got to really start considering him as #1 pound for pound, man, because, again, strength of schedule and the manner in which he's dominating this high-level opposition. He's not really somebody people talk about because he's not a big personality. But, bro, this guy's like the boxing version of Khabib Nurmagomedov, who was in the UFC, was the UFC's top fighter, regardless of the fact that he stayed humble and didn't make a lot of notoriety and didn't make a lot of splash promotion-wise. You rate a fighter from his performances inside the ring or inside the cage when it comes to the UFC. And these guys, the performances these guys have put up inside when it counts have just been really, really devastating. And Beterbiev has been that kind of guy. Really, it sets up a fight that a lot of people could really look forward to, is Beterbiev and Bivol. And, again, so the conversation has to start being had if he's able to knock off Bivol as well. That's a terrific fight. I hope that fight really ends up getting made. We got really a logjam is starting to get really created at that very tippity top of the pound for pound list, because I feel like Beterbiev has now joined those top three as far as a separation from the rest of the pound for pound list. And you know what? It's good for boxing as long as those top four guys are really constantly testing themselves and staying active. You know, that's the thing. Those guys got to stay active as well. And you know, the only one I really seeing staying super active is Inoue. But hoping that you know, Usyk fighting Fury is a great fight as well. That's a big test for another one of those top pound for pound guys. Crawford just dominating Spence. You know, we don't know what's next for him, but obviously we're looking forward to hearing what's next for Crawford, and hoping that he doesn't have a long layoff. And of course, Beterbiev. You know, Beterbiev just got this win. Everybody's now talking about the Bivol fight. It's got to get made. There's no other really options. You got to make that fight, and that will be a really exciting big fight to make, and hopefully boxing makes it. Let me know your thoughts on Beterbiev's win last night. Let me know how you think he ranks it on the pound for pound list as well. And were you surprised at how easily he handled Callum Smith? I really was surprised. And he's not just a strong guy, he's also a technical guy. That initial salvo that finally ended the fight, it started with a counter right hand, a timing shot over the top of Callum Smith's jab. You know, also, I've trained with Buddy McGirt. You know, he usually stresses a lot of head movement, and he stresses don't go straight back. Two things that I really, you know, thought Callum was lacking in yesterday. He didn't have a lot of head movement except when he was stuck on the ropes, and he did go straight back a lot. You know, he did stay low, which is another big Buddy McGirt, proactive Buddy McGirt style. Callum kind of bent down a little bit low, and he was trying to use that to kind of get leverage on his shots. I think, though, that part did help Beterbiev come over the top of him with the right hand that hurt him and eventually ended the fight. But I really was looking forward to seeing more Callum Smith head movement, because on the ropes, when he did get stuck, there were big spots where he had Beterbiev missing, and he was trying to come up with that catch-and-shoot left hook. You know, he did stay low, which is another big Buddy McGirt, proactive Buddy McGirt style. Callum kind of bent down a little bit low, and he was trying to use that to kind of get leverage on his shots. I think, though, that part did help Beterbiev come over the top of him with the right hand that hurt him and eventually ended the fight. But I really was looking forward to seeing more Callum Smith head movement, because on the ropes, when he did get stuck, there were big spots where he had Beterbiev missing, and he was trying to come up with that catch-and-shoot left hook. But it didn't happen. Let me know your thoughts on all this, guys. I'm Paulie Malignaggi. This is Paulie TV. Artur Beterbiev with an emphatic win over Callum Smith.